Yeah. Sorry in advance if this is long, but I'm gonna try to um go through some stuff here tonight about the market before tomorrow. So let's get into it. I've got it all fixed and set up. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of run through some scans, kind of talk about the day, and just kind of, let it flow here. Um, but the market is gapping down in the after hours right now. SMH is down as of this video. SMH is down 1.6%. QQQ is down about 0.8% in the after hours with some South Korea weakness. And I wanted to pull up the QQQ. So we popped a little bit off of lows. Actually, I mean a decent bit, right? It doesn't look like much per se intraday because we had this, big fade. I mean, $17 of range. Is pretty significant with the ATR at about $13. But we popped about $7 off of lows. It's pretty substantial. It's about one point, 1% ish, give or take. We are fairly extended outside the lower Bollinger Band, so gap down is going to be interesting. However, I really do want it to be below that low from yesterday. So I wasn't as willing to take an undercut today on this to try to do, a little reversal fishing. And I think I think I'm willing tomorrow. I'm still pretty apprehensive about that. I've been, pretty shy away from taking, trades and positions. I'm totally okay with that. I've tried, DDOG, right? We talked about, Eli Lilly. Some of these are acting and looking good. Super apprehensive about AMD and Dell throughout this kind of build out here. Um, but I think I'm a little bit more willing to try something. If you look at the SMH, we hit the lower Bollinger Band, which is just two standard deviation away from the 20 period moving average. If we're gapping down, decently, I mean it's gotta start to kind of trigger some interest in terms of it, extensions. It's about a 12%, move to the downside, um, away from the 50-day moving average. I'd begin to get a little bit interested tomorrow. I think. The problem is we've got FOMC on Wednesday. We got all these earnings kind of coming up. Um, into Wednesday and Thursday. So that's why it just doesn't kind of jazz me up as much as I'd like it to. So I'd actually, would rather see, some further flush tomorrow because I think the market's a little bit spooked. I think there's actually a chance that the Fed hikes rates, tomorrow. We talked about this weekend and, it became a little bit more of a talk today. There is a chance of that. And that would kind of dispel some of the, Fed independence talks right out of the gate. Sure, it'd be, hawkish against inflation, but it would really kind of, garner some of that respect outside of, the Trump people, you know what I mean? So I do think it could happen. Anyways, whatever. Who the fuck knows? And who knows what the market's gonna react to, anyways. I'm just kind of hyper aware of the newness of this, and I've never really experienced a new Fed before, right? So I don't know what the market exactly expects. For the most part, Jerome Powell was just essentially coming into office when I was becoming a major market guy, a trading guy. So then you've also kind of got this bull gap, around this spot around 520 on the SMH. Again, it feels a little bit early, but visually, like it might be there. Anyways, whatever. Well, to be honest, that is like a significant portion of the focus. Bracco brought up this SNDK here, this morning or this afternoon. Again, ideally, maybe one more day into this spot would be very interesting. It would be very interesting. Um, some of these are just like kind of, day one off of bear flags, so it's interesting. BEs into the 200-day moving average. ARM was green today. So, it just, I'm a little in between on it, and that's fine. right? I'm just kind of, mapping out what my participation would be, if it, ends up occurring. And I like trading those reversal extensions when they come. We've got a really good history of doing that, of timing them, of kind of staying out until they occur. Um, so I'm totally okay looking for those. It's part of my playbook. Now, in terms of the rest of the market, this pretty much does kind of dominate, what I think the next move of the market will be. Right. And then, from there, it kind of needs to see, do we just kind of drift in and, do like a March 2025 scenario, right? Which was like right here. Do we do something like that before, really going, something else? Would it be longer? That's also a real possibility as well. And it's starting to kind of, feel a little bit ugly, a little bit concerning, given a lot of things. Anyways, we've been cautious. We've been, protected before. Wish I would have been more aggressive in some of these shorts that we discussed, up here over the 50-day, and then up here last Friday. Um, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm again totally okay with it. I do want to go over kind of some of these scans. I mean, it does feel kind of pointless mentioning, some of these charts, and some of these scans. I mean, RNG, obviously day two, on this earnings and episodic pivot, it's going to be on my screens for a while. And we talked about the IMAX and AMC setups. Most likely not going to trade these, but just kind of want to get used to watching them move. Nice earnings. I mean, this is at all-time highs, this IMAX, and they've got a couple good PRs, about their movie sales. Um, just kind of running through, my broader list right now, and always cleaning it up, always keeping it, active as to what's working in the market, what's populating, my watch list and stuff. Yes, D-Lo is nice, following through, but for the most part, I'm kind of looking to see how, the SMH. I mean, the Kospi is down 8%, it just halted. And it's really controlling the market, and we got a lot of catalysts. So I don't. I know it's been, kind of annoying to kind of keep hearing the same thing of, be patient, sit out, develop that discipline, protect your money type of thing. But the more that you survive in this game, and the more that you experience positive periods in the market, the more that you realize how truly impactful that is. And I'm not just talking about in the protection part of it, where participation is minimal. I'm talking about the other side too, like when stuff's kicking ass and you're, letting it rip, back and forth. You're buying positions, you're buying remounts, right? You're getting 10, 20% size into, some of these leadership stocks and riding them for 100%. Which has been multiple already, even just, in that April to May run of TQQ, MU, Bloom Energy, OUST, various other ones. And these periods remind you that, man, those periods, those other periods that kick ass are so awesome that I don't mind waiting for that, because I want my capital, I want my mental to be there for when they come, versus God, I just need to survive this period, I just need to stay patient, right? It's that God, I know what is possible when, stars are aligned. So, I don't want to try to push it and force the issue. um, and again, I just feel kind of weird mentioning some of these setups, like, bros. We talked about DDOG. I tried this on Friday and actually closed it, break even, before the end of the day. And, maybe I wish I held that, but I'm, again, totally cool with that. We talked about Eli Lilly here, obviously Dell. Like, that's a fine day here. Like, I am interested in that. Corning's got earnings before the open tomorrow. So there's still just a lot of, moving parts. Let me just kind of keep scanning through here. Cerebra is still kind of interested if this can put in a higher low and, move higher from there. Um, AMD kind of got broken today, unfortunately. Not surprised. And the video was a great short setup today. Fairly interested in this, but again, is it worth the time? Is it going to work? That's why I kind of would rather focus on, the SNDK, MU, SMH, QQQ kind of, reversion trade, because I do think, that's probably the most optimal one. And then again, some of these like mid-tier random ass setups, your bros, just kind of sifting through here. That DOCN. Dell is on my list again because these are obvious things. CBRL, Cracker Barrel, Victoria's Secret, right? It's another, reasonable, good setup. Um, so I don't know. I guess this is a long video of saying, again, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure what my participation is going to be, but we'll be here live, facing the action together, talking about kind of what we think our next move is, and what our participation is. But overall, the more you keep it simple, right? The market puts in a low. 4 days after that, you get minimum 4 to 10 days after that, you get a follow through day, right? We talked about Webby's trend to change checklist for a decent bit of time on Zoom today. Um, and I was considering some of these 30-minute pivots, throughout the market as things were kind of curling back up. And um, again, I don't mind kind of letting them go. I know a lot of people were actively day trading some of the shorts, back and forth, and good on them, right? We had that time frame conversation earlier in the week, and just want to kind of keep reiterating these messages because I know, someone who's, hasn't been through as many cycles, might not feel as confident and secure and convicted in their process to, withstand um some of the mental difficulties that come with, a challenging market. Um, so, I'm super open to, talking about those difficulties and, talking about um, that it's not fun, whatever. But it's required. It is extremely important to develop the disciplined and patient ability in the market, no matter what strategy you have, right? Whether it's long side, swing trading, whether it's day trading extensions, whether it's the trend day trading with the trend, whether it's short side trading, whether it's whatever kind of your general and specific and simple strategy might be. There's going to be periods where it just doesn't work and you just have to, bear with it until it doesn't. Oh, XBI was another one. XBI and net were ones that we were looking at in the pre-market. These pushed and technically triggered over these inside days highs. I just had no interest in trying them. It did not seem like a day that, to go buy those remounts. But I did consider net actually as it started curling here. This was probably the only thing that I was pretty close to trying. But tomorrow with the gap down, undercut, reclaim a previous day low into this bull gap right here, I probably would give that a go. I'd be willing to. Relative strength, I mean, not as many people are talking about this, talking about Dell only. Um, Twilio, more curious to see how it plays out than, willing to buy it. Snowflake again, saw the strength at the open, wasn't interested in. BE after 200-day maybe. Um, um, DDOG still tracking, RBRK at the 50, Google 200, Reclaim, VSXOI still looks hot. Um, ARM had some nice relative strength today, up 2.5%, with the SMH down 2.5. I thought that was fairly notable. Um, went over bros. But yeah, I'm okay with all those things that we covered and discussed. Again, if you guys have any questions, post them in the chat, post them in the questions, page. Let's 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 stay committed to the game. All right. Um, and don't blow your loads too early. Okay, I meant to end it too.